Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tom Dutta. I'm the executive producer and host of the Quiet Warrior Show. It's an international podcast and live streaming radio show. And in all the shows I've done, this one is very emotional and very, very timely to have a conversation with you. Today is a national holiday in Canada. We're calling this a day of truth and reconciliation. For many of my friends around the world, not everybody understands the significance of this day. I wanted to share a few stories and provide some education today. See, I spent most of my life as an educator. I want to talk with a story that I was on the Zoom this morning with somebody that I coach in America. And I started the session and I said, by the way, I'm wearing an orange shirt. And they looked at me and I said, let me tell you the significance of that. Did you know? And they really didn't understand the significance of the atrocities, the genocide that Canada experienced. And so a picture is worth 1,000 words. Please stay with me till the end of this video to honor all of those we're honoring today. I want to show you a video. Please watch this with me. Wow, what an emotional video that was, and if it got your heart like it got mine, it's an incredible story. I want to show you really what today is all about, and put up on the screen here, so you can see that the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, September 30th, 2021. That's today, marks the first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. The day honors the lost children and survivors of residential schools, their families, and communities. Public commemoration of the tragic and painful history and ongoing impacts of residential schools is a vital component of the reconciliation process. The creation of this federal stat holiday was through legislative amendments made by our Parliament on June 3rd, 2021. Now you can find this on the website and learn more about it. So let me tell you a quick story, and then we're going to watch another short video. And this story might seem a little odd up front, but it's getting to a point. When I was in 2017, for a decade, I was chairman of the board of the Mood Disorders Association of British Columbia. Now, many people who knew about that, they know that people would go to the Mood Disorders Association for peer-led support groups and other services, people who had mood disorders, mental health needs. And I was proud to be chair of the board, but also a volunteer and somebody who learned and helped out within that organization. There was one day where they asked me if I would like to take a course. It was called Sanyas training, and I'll show you a video in a minute about what that was. Now, as a global educator, I run my company, KRE-AT, to teach. And I was all for learning, but I wasn't prepared for what that course was going to do to me. I remember the manager at the time said, Tom, when I give you your login, you're going to probably take a week to do this. It's online. There's many, many videos and lots of rich content. And by the way, it's a well put together program. Now, I'm not here selling that program, but today brought that back to me for a reason. She said to me before she gave me the login, she said, Tom, this is going to be very hard for you. And I didn't know what she meant until I watched some of the videos. There were survivors from this tragedy, videos of people telling the stories of what they encountered in those schools, the trauma, the abuse, and how later in life it formed PTSD and other addictions and stole away their freedoms and their ability to live like normal human beings. I want you to picture for a minute that somebody comes to your door and knocks on the door, and if you have children, they take your children from you. You don't know why. They take them and far away, you never know where they've gone and you never find out. And they put them in a school system. And in that school, as you saw in the opening video, if you didn't go back and watch it, this production will be replayed again. They're tortured. They're murdered. In fact, one of the things I saw in one of the videos, I still can't sleep at night when I think about it, is that when they take these children away, they took away their clothes, they took away they tried to take away their values and their beliefs, and they would cut their hair. And if you know anything about that culture, they grow the ponytail, and they have their hair cut off. And what I learned from the video was that in the indigenous people's beliefs, that when they cut their hair off that way, it means somebody has died. Now imagine as a child being separated, having your hair cut off, having your clothes changed, and then trying to wipe off the face of the earth your culture, your language. You never see your mom and dad again. It's disgusting. It's horrific. We should never let that happen again in this great country of Canada. It's a blight. In fact, the word atrocity is not even strong enough. It's a genocide. It needs to be talked about. We need people to be educated. Never again must we ever let something happen again in our country, but never again must we cover it up. For many, many years, this was covered up. Now, the reason why I'm wearing a ball cap is it's another quick story. For some reason, my brain connected to a story of my own haircut. When I was a young boy, I grew up in Delta, British Columbia, on the border of Surrey and Delta. And it was a South Asian community, and there was a little Shell gas station at the corner of 72nd and Scott Road. My father used to take us there for haircuts, my brother and I. And I remember one day my father took us to the barber for a haircut. And we were just young boys, maybe the age of 6 and 7. We had full jet black heads of hair. And well, my dad, as many know, I talk about it sometimes, he passed away a few years ago. He was a pretty good drinker. So he took us there and he was drunk. And I remember, I never forget it. The barber said, "What should we do today?" And he said, "Take it all off." And of course, I was horrified. And at age 6 and 7, I didn't know what was going on. But I can tell you that I had my values. I had my rights. My rights were taken away from me. My choice to keep my hair. I had my head shaved. And I remember we got home and my mom was really angry. And she was so angry at my father. And well, there we are, these two little cue balls, me and my brother. My brother's a year apart. My mom put black toques on, and I went to school in those days wearing black toques. Of course, in those days when I grew up, I was called names for the color of my skin. And now I'm picked on for losing my hair. I'm not saying that to say that this compares in any way to the atrocities of the children who were taken in the school system. It just reminded me that I had my rights taken from me that day. It wasn't my choice to lose my own hair. And I was ridiculed and picked on, and I experienced a form of shame I can't explain to you. Even to this day, there's triggers of it. And when I learned about the school systems, that one story about how these children would have their ponytails cut off so that they would no longer look like they are supposed to look in their culture, and know that that meant in their belief system that somebody had died. It's horrific. So I'm not here to tell you more stories about this. I actually took my hair off, but it was my choice. It wasn't somebody else doing it for COVID-19. I'm very proud of my new haircut for the time being. Well, going back to the story I told you about the Sanyas program, over a week I would be immersed in videos online, in constant educational pieces about the history, behind not only the government and the practices, but why this happened, how it happened. There was rich learning in this course, this online course. And in fact, there was quizzes along the way. So you retained a lot of the information. I thought it was well put together. And I thought about it today in our National Day of Reconciliation and Truth. And I thought about all the things I've learned all my life and what I teach now as the educator of others, that it's not just about honoring. It's not just about awareness. It's about education. So I'm making a call out today to all of those who understand at a surface level what's happened here, that we must honor, we must be aware, and we must start to educate ourselves. And not just today on our first National Recognition Day, but every day, because every child matters. If you look at my screensaver in the back, every child matters. And so I'm going to show you the Sanyas program, a little video, so you can get a sense what's out there, whether it's the Sanyas training program or it's some other program. I recommend every organization and every human being do a course to learn, so that then we can be tolerant and we can support the survivors of those atrocities. Before I play the video, one last thing that many people who don't live in Canada may not have heard, but for many, many years and decades, the survivors of these children never knew if they would find their bodies or what happened to them. Now, long ago, just several months, in Kamloops, British Columbia, using some specialized imaging equipment, a gravesite was found under one of the closed schools that were used for Indigenous people and children. 215 little graves were found. 215 little children. Their corpses were found. My God, think about that. And so all the people today who are survivors of those atrocities, who maybe that was one of their children, maybe they can start to heal, but they have to relive that. But think about all the other people across the country, the Indigenous peoples who just learned of that grave. Imagine what's going on in their minds about the plight of their own children. Maybe that glimmer of hope still, that there's somewhere in the world, in an orphanage or wandering around lost, or in another country, they found their way out of the system, but now wondering if there are more grave sites. I make a prediction, and it's not one I'm proud of if it comes true, but I believe as work is done to use imaging equipment, we need to keep looking and looking until we find every missing child. You saw in the opening video the numbers. People are saying now it's a higher number than that. So now I want to share with you this video. Please watch it, and then we'll wrap up after this about the Sanyas Indigenous training. The program that I took, and if you look on my screensaver, you'll see a little certificate in 2017. So I'm proud of that. When I call you to action to find a course like this and take it, I'm walking the talk. I'm in the trenches with you. And please do that. Here's the video.
We have a great team consisting of about 17 facilitators now. Our team has really grown as our program has really taken traction in BC and also across Canada.
We do a lot of training with non-Indigenous service providers to build their knowledge, skills, and awareness on how to work with Indigenous people.
They either do workshops or we run special cohorts for different organizations.
We started out almost entirely within the healthcare system. Now we see participants in child welfare. We see a significant number of academics coming in from a broad base of colleges and universities. We see people from the justice system at all levels, from frontline right up to judges taking our program.
It's really about how to ensure that Indigenous people have safer services and reducing harm within those service sectors.
Having relatives going into healthcare or needing assistance makes me feel comfortable that there will be people able to be culturally competent in handling my aunties or uncles.
Not only are Indigenous people disadvantaged in terms of getting to the hospital, but once they do get to the hospital, they oftentimes face conscious and unconscious stereotyping, racism, and bias that impacts the way that they're served.
These stereotypes they're rampant, they're normed into education systems. And for me as a white settler who's been taught not to talk about race or racism, well, we need to get to those not nice conversations and not to be afraid of that.
People are surprised often about where the conversation can go, and we provide a model to have a respectful conversation about difficult and hard topics.
Because we can't fix something until we know what it is we're fixing.
I've learned a lot here too about even just my culture. It makes me aware of what was happening and how that we can change it over and make it better, and making the other people culturally competent to handle our people coming into the hospitals.
All right, what a great video. And I'd like to recap again for those who just joined us. Watch at the beginning the comments I made in another video. Today is a National Day for Truth and Reconciliation in Canada for a genocide, for atrocities that we are still in mourning. And that video you just saw was a training program called SANYAS. When I was with a mental health organization, I had the privilege of taking that program over a week online. Saw many, many videos of the survivors of the atrocities in those Indigenous schools where people's lives were lost. Children were taken from their parents and put there. They were abused, they were tortured and murdered. And they tried to wipe this culture off the earth. And you see in the top left-hand screen there where, whoops, the other side I'm pointing, that's my certificate. And so I'm not bragging here, everybody. I'm making a bold call to action that today they say is a day of honor and awareness. It's more than that. It's a day of honor, awareness, and education. I grew up in a world where there was prejudice, but when I learned about this, nothing compares to the things I experienced as a South Asian man. But it's only through ignorance and education to obliterate and eliminate that we can begin to understand. And so every time we walk out in this beautiful province or country and we start realizing we're on Indigenous land, or we hear people or we see people on reserves or maybe are struggling in their lives, I want you to realize when you educate yourself and what's happened with the atrocities through the murder of many, many, many children, I'd like you to keep remembering that we are just fortunate to live in a country where we do have freedoms today, but unfortunately, many of those people didn't. We'll never forget. I'd like to end up on one more video for you. This is a video that we played at the beginning of the broadcast. This is a very moving video that tells the story of these residential schools. The picture holds 1,000 words. Thank you, everybody, for watching today as we honor Orange Shirt Day, a day of National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And my call to action, it's not just about honor and awareness, but it's about education. Find a course and learn and educate yourself about the history. And let's never let this happen again. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Quiet Warrior Show. KRE-AT is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.KREAT.ca